Relay Radio. I'm your host, Derek Dreyer. To my right is my co-host, Daniel Hong. We'll be lighting the torch of knowledge to bring you exhilarating insights, expert tips, and inspiring stories.
Immerse yourself in the world of business, entrepreneurship, and life as we pass the baton of knowledge, empowering you to sprint towards greatness.
Today's guest was always one step ahead of me. Transferring from the dark side in 2007, he arrived at the University of Texas and ran track for 2 years before graduating, pursuing his EMBA in finance from the University of North Carolina. He successfully led large businesses units at Grainger, Target, and was a senior HR leader for the largest region in the Walgreens footprint. All Big 12 sprinter, golf lover, sneakerhead, father of two, he is Jonathon Collins.
Thanks for having me, man. It's awesome to be here.
Thanks for coming, man.
I feel like I'm surrounded by such an illustrious group of men. I feel like I need to level up my life right now.
What does illustrious mean?
It means Daniel Hung. I think that's exactly what it says in the dictionary.
Bro, you learn a new word every podcast.
Damn, illustrious.
Illustrious, man, I would say, if I'm being just really honest, because I actually use that a lot in word, is not being afraid to take a step forward when you can't see what's in front of you. When I look at this building, I know a little bit about you guys' stories through my relationship with Derek. You know, what you guys have done here is really just a testament to partnership, commitment, and also having a vision that you stuck to it. So this is dope, man. I'm honored to be here, man.
Thank you, man.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you, bro. So our podcast structured like a relay. So we like to start it off with a warm up. A little trivia questions, get your brain moving a little bit.
Oh gosh.
Then we'll do 4 different legs. Our first leg, we'll talk about your personal life. We'll interview you, just get to know you a little bit deeper. I know you pretty deep, but we'll let Daniel get to know you.
Yeah.
Second leg, we'll talk about social media. Third leg, business. Fourth leg, goals, advice, things like that.
Awesome.
All right, so let's get started. You got 30 seconds to answer these trivia questions.
Should time it?
Yeah. There's a leaderboard, so don't fuck up.
Is there a prize? What do I win? Is it just pure competition?
Just pure competition.
All pride.
Yeah. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
All right. What's the name of the big drum at Texas?
Pass. The Texas drum? I have no idea. Big Ben.
How many? Close.
Big Bertha.
There you go. How many rings are there in the Olympic logo?
6.
Smallest U.S. state.
Rhode Island.
How many feet are in a meter?
3.
Who's on the nickel?
Lincoln? I don't know. Old white guy.
Time.
This is the last answer.
Bro, I think you got 3.
Did he?
It's 3.1 in a meter, but we'll give you that. That's close.
Thank you.
That's like
Rounding down.
smallest state. Olympic logo is 5, bro.
5?
got the
Got it.
3
It's
on the top.
uneven. That's right.
Yeah.
It's easy.
You got 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got Big Bertha, Rhode Island.
The leader was 2.
Rhode Island? I didn't even know that, dude.
All those
smallest state.
degrees I got.
What?
Yeah, boy got degrees.
Student loans.
All right, let's jump into your
Am I cut off?
Yeah, we'll jump into your personal life a little bit. So, born and raised Texas, Fort Worth.
Fort Worth, Texas, man.
What was your? Tell us about your upbringing.
Man, my upbringing was great, man. I had awesome parents. John L. Collins, the first, and Helen Collins. My parents grew up. My mama would say they grew up poor. Couldn't afford the O or the R, just P.O., like legit. They're from a small town called Hubbard, Texas, central Texas, about 33 miles northwest of Waco. They grew up like most black people did back in pre-segregation, picking cotton, picking pecans. My dad was one of 11 brothers and sisters. He was the second youngest. My mother was an orphan. Full transparency, my mom's mom was a prostitute.
Really?
Didn't know her dad. I think her dad was a customer. And so my mom mom didn't have running water until she was 19 years old.
Wow.
In the house, or electricity. So we talk about all the things that's happening in the world, but we're still really connected to a generation to where through their eyes, as their children, they're seeing us experience first, their families. So I got an older sister. My brother's 10 years older than me. Sister's 5 years older than me, so I was definitely the baby. I came around during good times. My brother and sister were born in the hood. I was not. I was born in a pretty good
I was
situation.
going to say, you went to a private school, right?
Got a full scholarship to go to a private school, so My childhood was good, man. It was just family, man. Family, church, football, sports, food. I didn't know that. I didn't know that my cousins weren't my brothers and sisters, to be honest with you, because we were
Yeah.
always around family. I was blessed to have. I am blessed to have an older brother and an older sister who always kept me around. Like my brother would pick me up from like literally elementary school and take me to his high school.
Yeah.
So I'd be in the back of my brother's high school, or I had practice with him like when I was little. So I just didn't know anything different other than being a part of a close family. And then things changed a little bit. My dad died when I was 11. He got cancer, brain cancer. And then, things money got a little tight. Mom, fortunately, is a real estate entrepreneur, one of the first black women to own a Century 21 franchise in North Texas.
Wow.
And then branched off to own our own agency and did really well, to be really honest with you. But, grief is hard. So she blew all the cash that we had
Oh, wow.
a couple of years after my dad died. But fortunately, my parents, we'll get into this a bit later, but my parents' principles in terms of life is buy, never sell. So fortunately, they own a pretty sizable real estate portfolio at the time for a reasonably young black couple back then. So real estate got us through. And obviously, I went to private school. Mom didn't have to pay for that. My brother was in the Hall of Fame at TCU. Didn't have to pay for that. And so my sister went to TCU as well, too. She was on scholarship as well, but my mom had to pay a portion of that. So fortunately, my mom always bought our houses right, too. My mom bought our house for $80,000. That's now worth like $600,000. She sold it, I think, for like $3.
Dang.
She moved next door after my dad died, and she bought that house for $20,000. Asked our neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Ford, to carry the note. She renovated it, and then she sold it for $400,000 before she met my stepdad. So
Damn.
my mom was a hustler, man. She's always been a mix.
Sounds like it, man.
Yeah. So the
Dude,
childhood was good, man. I had great times.
That was the cleanest like intro we've ever had. Somebody just like you
Yeah,
jumped
good
straight
talk.
into it, bro.
Yeah,
Like you,
done this a couple times.
yeah.
Yeah.
Talked about you gave your pitch a couple times. So why didn't you go to TCU? Like why'd you go?
Man, I didn't want to stay at home. I literally
Yeah.
grew up 3 minutes from TCU. Anybody from Fort Worth that knows, I grew up in Ryan Place, which is like a historical district of Fort Worth, and you can literally see the stadium almost.
It's a
from
nice
there.
area.
It's a great.
TCU.
Area. Yeah,
it's
I
beautiful.
love it.
Yeah.
We bought our first house down the street from there, so I was there this weekend. Love Fort Worth, but it was too close to home. Like literally, I would go spend the night in my brother's dorms while he was in college. So I knew everything. I knew the coach. They were the first offer I got, but my mom. I'll be really honest, part of the benefits of having a mom who's intense, who's a hustler, who's an entrepreneur, who's very family minded, is that you stay close, you have what you need. Part of the drawbacks is she was just really hard. And in her mind, I think once my father died, my father he was a man's man. She didn't want her youngest son to quote unquote, she didn't want him to be no punk.
Right.
And so she was just tough on me, man.
Yeah.
I was like, I just wanted to get out.
You wanted to kind of grow up on your own.
I don't know if it's so much. I don't know if I had the maturity to title it that way.
Yeah.
But I knew I wanted to leave.
Yeah.
And like maybe never come back.
So why'd you pick A&M, dude?
Honestly, man, I don't know if they put something in my drink that night, but no, to be honest, man, I really wanted to go to Texas.
Yeah.
And the funny story is like Bubba went on vacation when I went on my visit to Texas A&M.
Bubba was our coach at
Our coach at
Texas.
University of Texas. So I didn't hear from Bubba for like 2 weeks. So I thought he actually didn't want me. So in that time, Pat Henry scooped in, and they offered me a full ride. It was right after TSU relays.
Full ride. You must have been fast, bro.
I was fast. This was keywords was. This was right after TSU relays, Texas Southern University relays, which is a big relays down here. I won the 400-meter dash, had the fastest time in the state. We had won the 4x4, fastest time in the state. And my official visit was the Saturday after that event. So it was I was on a high. And we also knew an assistant coach at Texas A&M was there when my brother was at TCU. And there was somebody in the athletic department as an associate AD, Milton Overton, was at TCU, and my brother was there too. So there was a family aspect to that too. I had relationships there at A&M that made me feel really comfortable. And then the last thing I'll say too is my older cousin, Winston Williams' dad, they had a church in College Station. So literally a large portion of the other side of our family had a pretty predominant church in College Station, so I always had somebody's refrigerator raid. So there was a lot of family aspects that went into that decision, and we also had the number 1 recruiting class too in my year. So it was a lot of
A&M was cold, bro.
we were good.
Like
We were good, yeah. I wasn't good, but they were good.
They were. So I mean, obviously, you ended up transferring to Texas.
Yes.
What was the reasoning behind transferring to Texas?
Yeah, my first lesson in business, right?
Really?
Which is value, right? We like to think about business as personal. I think about business as strategic outcomes, innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Simply Business is about value.
Mm-hmm.
So I broke my foot in December my freshman year at Texas A&M, and instead of allowing me to redshirt, they ran me outdoor. So I literally didn't train from December to February. So Derek, you understand what that means.
Yeah.
I had no chance, right?
Right.
Coach Henry is a man of value. He's gonna win at all costs. So he
Right.
cut my scholarship by 77%. And me kind of being the knucklehead that I was at the time and just being immature, I felt like I had something to prove. So instead of transferring my freshman year, I doubled down. Was like, I'm gonna be an All-American sophomore year. I'm gonna go harder.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all I did was add more pressure on myself. Ended up pulling a hamstring in winter training, and I just didn't run fast, man.
Yeah.
After that, he cut me all the way down to books.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was ready to like really step away from track. My identity was in athletics, and I really didn't have much outside of that. Unfortunately, I had an older brother, Johnny.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you can give all this up. Like, you can go do whatever you want to do. Screw track. We got enough money to pay for it. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I quit, really, the summer of 2008. And fortunately, Greg Scholars, who is an Olympic athlete, he's also one of my summer track coaches, was a protege of Bubba at TCU. And met Greg downtown Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
I was interning for a tax attorney. Was walking downtown Fort Worth, saw Greg eating lunch. Greg pulled me to the side, started talking. He was like, "Do you still want to run?" I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to run, but who's going to take me?"
Mm-hmm.
A week later, Bubba called me, and the rest was history.
Yeah. I feel like Bubba gave a lot of people chances.
Bubba gave me a hell of a shot. Bubba sat me down on my recruiting trip. He was like, "Jonathan, I don't really care if you ever run fast. Just lead my team."
Yeah.
And that's really why we got along so well.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I didn't get recruited in high school. I mean, you know, right? Like, I didn't get recruited until Bubba sat me down in his office after the state high school track meet
Yeah.
and gave me a shot.
Yeah.
And I still I don't understand why.
I think Bubba had an eye for talent, not just in the physical aspect, but he had an eye for good men. Right.
Yeah.
One of the things I loved about Bubba is like
I think that's what that's what it was. Yeah.
yeah, he knew how to pick a good kid,
Mhm.
right? And a kid with potential. And so we didn't run nearly as fast as we should have.
Yeah,
The training could have
I
been a
know.
lot better, right? But I don't know if another coach, and we all have friends
Mhm.
at other schools who ran track. I don't know if a group or a relay that's been as successful, our teammates has been as successful as ours.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Everybody is
All of
honestly
us.
everybody is kind of flourishing from our team.
Yeah.
Just to give Daniel a little background, like everybody's.
Yeah.
I mean, we got
Mr. Coach is
lawyers, actors, businessmen,
Doctors.
entrepreneurs, doctors, like
yeah.
everybody, like high up too. Like
Literally.
nobody is just
Petroleum engineers, we
Yeah.
got VPs and stuff.
Mhm.
And that has a lot to do with Bubba's ability to pick.
not to mention Olympic gold medal champions as well.
True. That's true.
NFL.
Absolutely.
Damn, what happened to you, bro?
I'm stuck with your ass, bro.
There's no Asians on your track team, bro. You got to find me or what?
There were
No,
a
we did.
couple. They ran cross.
Really?
Yeah, we had a
Oh shit.
Asian cross country dude, biggest calves I ever seen in my life.
I don't remember his
Bro,
name.
miss me
He's a
with
good
that.
guy, though.
Skip
He was
your-
smart. I remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. But yeah, dude, but I think I always Bubba's lessons are always about life. It was never about like winning or track and shit. It was always about like later on in life, which
Yeah.
I don't think at the time we understood, but you know,
Yeah.
looking back now, you're like, okay, that's kind of what he was getting at.
Yeah,
in
Bubba
that
walked
sense.
up on me one day at practice. He was like, "Jonathan, you're running a lot faster if you get that monkey off your back." I'm like, what is this guy talking about? Right now, I look back and he's like, "Yo, you stressed out.
Yeah.
Like, stop caring so much. Just relax and
Mhm.
have a good time. You'll never get this time back."
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he had a lot of Bubba isms.
I think
that were good
I think
for
he
us.
said that same he had that same meaning to me when he said he's like, Derek, you need to go out and dance.
some salsa
You need to
lessons.
go dance. Open up your hips. Just dance.
He sounds cool.
Bubba was into salsa. That was his answer for a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Bubba was
I,
real cool.
I think like part of a good coach is like you're saying, like the A&M coach was all about winning. It's all about the value. His value was like just in what you could do for him rather than what he could do for you. I think like the true testament of like an actual coach is also like directly correlated with being like a life mentor, which is like essentially if you groom the person to be better internally, he will be better externally.
100%.
So he looked at you guys as like, okay, these kids are good internally. If I just help them flourish, like, and polish who they are as like people, they'll like be 10 times better than what they will be for like other things.
100%.
Because like what I find is like most athletes, once they're finished with college or they get injured. That was their whole identity. And for like Bubba, what it seemed like was like he was like, okay, this is a good person. I know he could be really good at what he's currently loving to do, but what is he beyond that? And then that's where like people kind of do way better. You know, I think it's more like what's the Adam Sandler movie, Waterboy?
Yeah.
It's with the coach, it was more so like they knew that they could groom good people, but it took like a leader, like he was saying to you, I need someone to lead my team. I don't care if you run the fastest. It's just kind of like the same concept where like all it took is that maybe that one person or to like kind of change the course of their life. Because based on y'all's track history with all of your teammates being like VP, petroleum engineer, entrepreneurs, whatever that may look like, I mean, his lesson worked out. You know, like it brought more value to you guys in the long run than it did if you were just a runner. You know,
100%.
I think so. Yeah.
it's like so important. You know,
And he was
like,
real.
He
He was
was.
real. Like
a real mentor,
he sat
yeah.
me down. He sat me down and he looked me in the eye and said, "You're never gonna run at nationals. Like I'm gonna be real with you."
yeah,
And like as much as that hurt and I wanted to prove wrong, like it's like it made me take a step and look at like internally and just like, okay, why, or like why did he say this or things like that. But
that's
you know,
what
it's
makes
like
a really
it's like
good coach.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to hear shit like that, but then like later on in life, like you're gonna hear worse or you're gonna deal with worse than your coach telling you you're not gonna make it somewhere or whatever. But
Yeah.
definitely some great lessons. I for sure like lost my identity after track. Like I didn't know what the fuck to do with my life. Like I had such a deep connection with athletics, and then once it was just all gone, I just felt lost.
Yeah.
I think a lot of athletes deal with that after sports.
Yeah, part of it is because your day is so regimented.
Mhm.
I mean, you're really on a schedule,
The structure.
right? But I think the strongest part of it is like when you're an athlete, college athlete, professional, in a lot of cases, you're a member of a tribe.
Mhm.
The tribe has its own language, it has its own rules. You know how to win, you know how to lose. And when you're pulled out of that tribe, and it happens so quick when you're an athlete, right?
Mhm.
It's instantaneously. You no longer understand how to operate,
Mhm.
right? Because you've been so used to performing, you've been so used to living your life within this tribe, within these set of rules. When you step outside that, you have no idea how to operate. If you
Mhm.
don't have a guide, or if you don't have something else to help you navigate this new world that you're in, you can think that who you are only fits in who you were. And you really have to be honestly courageous to adapt and learn new skills and even trust that you can do it and perform in new ways. So, I empathize with a lot of former athletes. We have a ton of friends that are professional athletes that are exiting, and a lot of them go through their own struggle. And the ones that make it out understand that their identity isn't in how they perform physically, but it's in who they are, what they believe in, the unshakable things a part of their life, like their faith and family, and they're able to go on and find and do better things.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense with the whole tribe thing. Because like, I mean, I miss it though.
I miss it a
I
lot.
miss,
Yeah, I miss it a lot too.
I miss that a lot. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can transition into the next leg, which is like we like to talk about social media. I know you're not like big on social media, but what do you think it would have been like if we had social media whenever we were in track?
To be honest, so I guess this is what I'll say. Like, we were probably the first, like, true Facebook college kids, right? Because I think
Yeah.
I think you still needed a college email to have Facebook when I was a freshman, and they may have changed it like maybe sophomore year. So we had Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Facebook was this way to connect, instant messages, and obviously you meet girls or whatever you prefer through Facebook. It was a way for you to do some discreet things, right? And build like a population of friends, though, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But man, I cannot imagine being in college with the way social media is today. I don't
Million followers or some shit. Like,
I don't know how you're supposed to talk about tribes, talk about reality, talk about rules. I don't know how these kids do it, and I mean that both like in a way where it's like, man, I'm really impressed that they're able to navigate it, but also in a way where like, man, I'm horrified at the lives that these kids are living because it used to be for us when the lights turned down in the stadium, it was over. Well, the lights never turn off when you got 2 million followers on social media. They're always on.
It gives them a false sense of things, right? Because like
Yeah,
at
man.
any given moment that could
And the scrutiny
disappear.
that comes
Yeah.
with it, right? People are always commenting on who you are, what you do, what you were. Like it's just exhausting. Now the offset is they're able to monetize it,
Right.
right? If we were able to monetize our name, image, and likeness in Texas, we could have made some real money. You know what I mean? But I don't know if it's worth it. If I'm being really honest.
Yeah.
That's also like, so the monetization thing is like really interesting because with nowadays, with social media and how it's become like this hustle culture, like, okay, everybody needs to be a CEO or like an entrepreneur. It's almost like it has this adverse effect where everyone always realizes or thinks that they can monetize everything they do. And it takes the true joy out of what you're supposed to enjoy in life. Because nowadays, what I see is like everyone is always like, or what we're surrounded by is always like, how can I make money from this?
Yeah.
Well, what it's like now, it's like, well, fuck. Sometimes you just don't need to make money off it. Sometimes you just actually need to enjoy what you want to do. You can show it, but like, you don't always have to make money from everything. You know, that's what I feel like has gotten so bad too. What you're saying about like social media, about like schools now, it is really wild because like I've noticed even with my little brother is 12 years younger than me, so he's 20 now, he's in college. They don't have people skills anymore.
Yeah.
My little brother has really not many friends outside of his own life. It's like for us, like millennials, I feel like we were the last generation because we grew up without it and we grew during the evolution of it. Now we're seeing it, right?
Yeah.
But we are old enough to realize what we could take from it and what we shouldn't take from it.
Yeah.
Because we developed the skills early on to be still problem solvers in a way, like our parents were. But now it's like there's this complete leniency upon social media to solve all of its problems.
Yeah.
So, like what I see nowadays, school, man, it's not even the same culture.
Yeah.
Because I was in a fraternity, so that was my tribe in college. And man, I don't know what it would be like if there was like social media everywhere. I think, yeah, it would be fucking terrible.
Yeah. I think you make a great point. Like man, the art of communication.
Terrible.
Like
now.
the subtle art of like being able to sit down on the couch in a chair and have a conversation for an hour. But these kids really don't have it. And that shows up, and you guys probably realize this too as business owners, but that shows up in talent when you're trying to hire.
Yeah.
Right?
And work ethic.
And work ethic, right? And commitment and resilience, right? You know, I advise a lot of our clients now, you know, for the first time in history, we have, I think, 4 different generations in the workforce. Boomers, all the way down to where we are currently. And it is such a mixed bag of experience and expectations for what people want in a workplace culture. And, you know, I say this as a neutral comment, not negative nor positive. You know, the kids that are graduating today just don't have a clue of what it actually takes to build genuine relationships, not just in their personal life, but in a working relationship that are critical to actually solving customer needs and having sustained business success. If you can't communicate, if you can't connect, I don't know how you're going to solve problems.
Right.
So I think it's a really interesting time that we're in right now, and I don't know how to fix it.
There's this constant cycle. It's called like hard times or easy times create weak men.
Yeah.
Weak men create hard times create strong men, and it's just this constant cycle where like back in the day it was like our great grandfather walked to work, and then our grandfather had a bike, and then our father had a car, and then we have like other modes of transportation, and then the future will have like teleportation, and then it goes back to like over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's like a repeat.
I thought you were about to say we're about to walk.
Well, yeah, that's probably what the other generation will do. Like they'll realize, oh shit, like it's gotten too much. We need to kind of get grounded again. You know, like what are the values upon our founding fathers?
Yeah.
You know, and then also like every previous generation will say that about the new generation too. Like our fathers probably were like, yeah, these kids don't have what it takes.
Yeah.
And now we're saying about the new generation. You know.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the problems evolve. I don't have what it takes to do what my dad did. Like I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But I absolutely have what it takes to like do what I need to do at this age to make sure my kid has an advantage. So like the problems change, but you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
So
Side note, boomers were horny.
What?
there's billions of them.
Have you noticed?
Yeah, I mean, like,
Have you noticed like
well, there's not as
boomers?
big families anymore.
Yeah, all the
Like
kids
my
got
grandma had 7 kids.
yeah, my grandma had, or my both sides of my parents, they both had 8 siblings each. So.
Yeah.
11. Like they had
Yeah.
nothing else to do, man. You go to the field, you go upstairs. If you had upstairs, close the door.
Boomers are horny, bro.
Yeah, they weren't swiping all right, but they were swiping left in their own way.
I mean, hey, bro,
Oh,
with
God,
the amount of these girls having OnlyFans, I mean, it seems like that
God.
generation is just.
See,
as
that's
horny, bro.
another thing too. Imagine if in college you sat in this classroom, and for a fact you knew like 6 of these girls had OnlyFans in front of you.
So
you know what I'm saying? How
so-
would that?
It's so funny you bring that up. Like I was talking to my wife Lauren the other day, and I was like, "Yo, at some point, like my son, he's going to school with kids who moms are on OnlyFans, moms and dads.
Mhm.
Like, that's gonna like,
I know how your mama's titties look.
bruh. You
real.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, how's
for
that
real,
gonna work out at the lunch table?
That's
Somebody's
See
making
your
fun of
mom
my
get
son.
fucked. I'm just like,
Oh my God.
Mom's
Jesus.
mom's on the internet with a butt plug, fam. Chill out.
no,
you
for
go-
real. Like that's a very serious problem.
How are you mentally preparing to navigate that conversation?
Man, I pray a lot. Yeah. I don't know, man. You have a son too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a son and a daughter, and I got a third one on the way.
Oh man, congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Like,
That's awesome.
could be getting a text in this podcast. Like,
Wow, man, you're dedicated. Yeah, I have a son and a daughter too. So like, you know, I don't know, man, but legit, I think principles and parameters, like not to be,
Yeah.
you know, not to be like over basic, but raise your kid with basic principles, teach them parameters.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, man, you know, we're only here to steward these souls. You know,
Yeah.
they're not ours.
Yeah.
So
they'll make their decisions.
I'm gonna give them the best I got to give them, man.
I do whoop my kid's ass though. I'll be whooping his ass.
I don't. So like interesting, right? So like I spanked Luca a couple times. I stopped. He's a bright kid. You know, I just don't want to have a habit of beating on him. I got my ass beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I did too.
So I do think there is a time and place to put hands on your child. I'm not
Yeah.
anti that. Like, just to be clear.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure it's similar to you. You know, like I don't want to make sure I have like my first response isn't always a spank up. I want to make sure you understand it. But no, I'll beat that behind up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing with social media, right? Is like, you know, somebody sees you beating your kid in the store, and it's just like, all of a sudden, you're a terrible parent. You're a bad, abusive
This
father,
terrible
you know?
parent.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I think that's the shitty part about social media, too, is like, people are so quick to jump to conclusions and thoughts that just,
Yeah.
or make opinions about people that just aren't actual factual.
Well, like
opinions.
social media has also created like extremisms. I think there's a
Yeah,
podcast
that's
we're
a
talking
good way
about.
to say it.
There's not a middle ground anymore. It's either like you really hate it or you really love it. There's not like a mid level anymore.
Yeah.
It's like I think we were talking about this on another podcast. Like I find myself saying this sometimes too. It's like I'll have a song and I'll be like, I hate it, or I'll love it. There's never like that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I think it has come to that point too. Social media is just so polar, just black and white
Yeah.
now. But like maybe we just need to go back to just talking how we used to talk in like high school and stuff, you know?
I think what I see a lot too is like there's not very good reading comprehension on social media. Like a headline will say something and then somebody will completely misinterpret it and make like a huge deal about it. Or like,
Well, that's
they'll-
always been
or just
prominent. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always been a very big thing.
I feel like it's even more like with social media.
yeah, because like things escalate like overnight.
Maybe
whereas
that maybe that ties back to what you were saying about the younger generation not having communication skills. Like they're not
Yeah.
they just don't have as good of comprehension skills just because of social media and like how like I feel like we're in an age of like everybody has ADD.
Well, you also can add context to 140 characters.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
You're having the whole
Yeah.
conversation with the
Mhm.
140 characters, and like context is not
Mhm.
not included in that. So
Right.
Did you know that like U.S. is one of the only countries that really talks
Yes.
about ADHD?
Really?
yes.
No other country talks about it. We don't have. No other country really talks about depression or ADHD. You know what it's all correlated with? Food.
Yeah.
Everything is about food. All the shit that they put in our food, like the red 40, the yellow 5, the blue 1, like all that shit.
Really?
Wild, bro.
Do you guys grow like in your backyard? You guys have backyard?
No, I'm not a botanist. I'm fucking terrible. I can't even keep
got
my
a
grass
garden?
green, bro.
We got full blown garden. We got
Damn.
herbs. We got
Yeah.
tomatoes. My parents did that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom, they live like an acre and a half. She's
Mhm.
got all types of crap in her backyard.
Damn.
They've always like we used to run cattle. So we used to run
Mhm.
50 head of cattle every year. Or we kept at least 50 cows.
Oh, so you had
Put
a
your
full blown
own-
ranch, bro.
We still
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
We don't have any cattle on. We got 120 acres in Hobart.
Yeah.
We're about to start. Me and my brother about to buy a starter herd.
Is that
Get
just
back to that though.
yeah.
It's the food process.
so?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good transition to talk about some business now. So, did your parents did they monetize the ranch at all, or is it just kind of family?
No, they did,
Only-
man. It was just family. So my
Okay.
dad, we bale hay. He grew corn every now and again.
Mhm.
It was never good quality.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
just did just do it. But really, man, my dad did it for stress. You know, that generation was just different, right?
Yeah,
And it was-
they're built different.
It was
for
really
sure.
different, man. So
Mhm.
and my mom, they were from there, so it was their hometown. So it was way for them to stay connected to their hometown.
Mhm.
But no, man, he killed 2 cows a year. He'd give one away. We put the other one in the refrigerator, and that's just
Mhm.
kind of how we did it.
What made you want to like go into business and like entrepreneurship yourself?
It's a funny story. Like, have you heard me talk about Dr. Mason at Texas?
Yes, I don't
So-
remember the
so
full.
Dr. Mason
details.
Is kind of like the black godfather of UT athletics. He's like known for like pulling black athletes aside and helping them like navigate life, right? And so I met Dr. Mason through Sherrod Harris, who was
Mhm.
a quarterback at UT. We also went to high school together, and he immediately took a liking to me. And I remember telling him my senior year, I'm gonna be a teacher at Maynard Middle School. I don't even think you knew this, Derek.
I thought you wanted to be a lawyer.
I did, but
Yeah.
it wasn't gonna happen. But I majored in English, minored in education, and I wanted to be a middle school teacher.
Mhm.
And I was already working on my certification, blah blah whatever. Dr. Mason, I went to go meet Dr. Mason one day, just have lunch with him, just kick it. And I remember telling him about my plans and how I'd already contacted like the process, and he was like, "Hey man, I hate to tell you this, but you're never gonna be a teacher." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, you can do that anytime you want in your life. You're going into business."
Mhm.
And it kind of crushed my soul, to be really honest with you, because the most important people in my life at that time have been teachers and coaches.
Mhm.
So that's what I wanted to be. His point was every black kid in America has some coach that he loves.
Mhm.
You don't need any more freaking coaches. Go into daggum business, go buy something, go make some money. And if you want to give somebody some money, now you can do it. But we don't need any more black coaches. We got plenty of them. And after I graduated, 3 months later, I moved to Chicago. Started my career at Granger.
Side note: Black people are like the best at every sport. Y'all got the best coaches.
I'm trying to think of a sport. Curling. We haven't conquered that yet.
Hockey.
What's curling?
Exposure.
Hockey?
Curling, the little thing like the
The
disc,
Olympics, Winter Olympics with
the ice brooms.
Oh,
You said we haven't conquered that yet.
Also, I ain't seen no brother surfing either. It's something about that surfer in the water we ain't mastering.
There's a few in the
Talk
NHL
about the
now.
mainstream sports.
Like football,
Well, maybe not soccer.
foot. We got what's the name? The boy from France. He's the best.
Nah,
in the world.
the one that dominates is Messi.
Bro, you
though.
talk.
Messi old. His time is
He's
over.
still
There's a lot.
dominating.
There's a
though.
lot of
Pele,
bad guys in
Pele
soccer.
was Pele was black Latino.
Yeah.
That's true. But like, damn, basketball, golf. I mean, Tiger's the only black guy in golf. Honestly,
Yeah.
he's still dominating.
He
bro.
said, "Yeah."
Well, I mean,
Tiger don't love us like that though. We love Tiger, but he don't love us.
Tiger.
He's not for the culture.
I'm not gonna say what he's for or he's not for.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying he don't
Like
love
white
us.
girls. He like white girls.
I mean, truth be told, that don't make him any less black. But anyways, that's another conversation.
Talk to us a little bit more about business. Like, so you went to you worked for Granger and then Walgreens,
Yeah.
and then now are you still the chief people officer?
Yeah, I've
for
done
your current
I've
business.
done a lot of different things in my career. So I started out at Granger
Mhm.
in a human resource leadership development
Yeah.
program. My chief people officer was Joseph High, who's now like a father to me. He married me and my wife.
Is that a new thing, by the way? Chief people officer.
It's the
Like,
same.
more
It's-
recent.
It's the same as chief human resource officer.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
HR.
title,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So chief talent, chief officer, head of
Okay.
people, whatever. But through that experience, he was really big on don't just be an HR guy, know the business.
Mhm.
So if you didn't know the business, you really couldn't be in HR.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So through that process, he really taught me our Granger allowed me to get exposure to not just human resources, but really like an actual business. So after I finished the rotation program, they put me in charge of a $50 million supplier operation in Deer Park. So I managed like $20 million in inventory, responsible for like supporting $50 million in sales. And I had a team of about 16. It's like when I was like 24. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
But that was like one of the best jobs I ever had because I learned.
That's how you learn.
Oh, God.
Just thrown into the fire.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Mhm.
And I had a team member, I had an old white dude named Charles. Charles was like 65 years old. He reported it to me. So
Damn.
imagine you like a 65-year-old white dude
Yeah.
from South Texas.
Yeah, fresh out of
From
college.
South Texas.
Got this young black dude, 24 years old, is gonna walk into your building. He had been at Granger at the time for 40 years.
Damn.
Jesus.
To tell you what to do,
Yeah.
right?
Damn.
So
He gave you problems?
he thought he was gonna give me problems.
Yeah.
So because I had experience in human resources and talent management, I set up meetings with everybody on my team when I first got there, and I met with Charles last.
Mhm.
So I was able to speak with everybody else in the building, get their perspective. And I felt like it would make him feel like I wasn't trying to include him and get rid of him. And I wanted to see how he responded. So by the time I got around to him, he was really pissed at me because he felt like I didn't want his opinion on how to run this branch. And he kind of gave it to me for the first 2 minutes of the conversation. And then after he finished, I was like, man, the reason why I met with you last because you're the least person I'm worried about here. I have to lead all of them. I need you to help me lead. What am I going to teach you?
Hit him with that Uno reverse.
What am I going to teach you about this building? I need
Yeah.
you to teach me.
Yeah.
So he thought he was coming in there to hear this young kid tell him about his plan. But the opposite was like, no, I don't have a plan yet because I haven't talked to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be successful if you don't help me.
Yeah.
And he and I were like tight.
After
ever
that.
since then. I mean, tight.
Yeah.
And I would not have been, it wasn't just BS. No, I wouldn't have been able to do that without him. And we ended up growing sales by like 10%, like one of the best branches in the country.
What you just said is exactly what, I mean, a very similar of what like Bubba told you.
Yeah.
So if you look at like the athlete thing, the mentality of like the discipline, the motivation that you kind of had, you directly applied that like almost honestly like subconsciously.
Well, and then I'll take it a step further. My dad was a leader at Justin Boots. He's one of the first black. He was the first black like executive upper level management person at Justin Boots ever.
Yeah.
And my dad used to always tell me, he's like, son, when you get into this position, when you're ever leading people, you're making dinner table decisions.
Yeah, that's true.
So every decision you make, you need to understand that you're impacting somebody's dinner table. So be like lead with respect.
very mindful. Yeah.
So like that never. It never crossed my mind to ever disrespect somebody like that at work, especially somebody older. Well, I'm gonna tell a 65-year-old man.
Yeah.
And like honestly, HR has a pretty bad rep because most people see HR as they don't care about the employee, they just care about the company because they're looking out for the interests of the company.
Right.
So what your dad said was, it's pretty vital. It's very important.
Well, I mean, I think about this as, even us, right? Like as we're hiring people in our business, it's like we're responsible for their livelihoods.
Yeah.
And their dinner table, right? Like we're
And I'll challenge that. Y'all are co-responsible.
Right.
They're responsible for their livelihood,
Right.
First and fundamentally, you guys are responsible
it's like,
for providing a framework and an environment where they can be successful.
Yeah.
But even then, it's only so much they can.
it's still a weight on, it's still something I think about. I think it's just naturally something I think about, right? Because I care about people and I care about my team, that it's like, man, I want us to be successful so that we can provide a life for these people.
That's true. Yeah.
That's just how I look at it. And I don't know.
It's because you guys are good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, after Granger, I did a lot of crazy stuff in my career so far. But after Granger, we ran a Target South Houston.
Mhm.
That was a crazy experience. Then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I helped my brother launch his business. So that was my first like branch into startups. So my brother at the time was running and owned and ran a title insurance company.
Oh, that's very lucrative.
Owned and ran a title insurance company, and I was his first head of people, and we were very small back then. Now we're the largest minority-owned title insurance agency in the state of Texas.
Wow.
My brother is the first African American to sit on the Land and Title Board of Texas, so the actual board for the state that determines right of ownership. My brother is the first African American male in the entire history of Texas.
It's wild.
African American period to ever be on it. So
A lot of firsts for your
firsts,
family,
for y'all's
bro.
family.
a lot of first.
Yeah.
Man.
What are you gonna be the first?
I'm the first daddy of Luca Collins and Celia Collins, so I'm good with that.
But
But
also the first African American on our podcast.
Is he?
Chichi,
Yeah, he is.
Oh yeah, there you go.
look at you guys, invented diversity.
Nice.
Not by any Not by any other reason.
Stop. But that was a great experience. I built out all of his stuff, his onboarding benefits. I recruited a lot of people that worked for him, so it was a great experience. Unfortunately, I couldn't last long because we couldn't stand each other at the time. Little brother, older brother rivalry.
Yeah.
But also at the time, Walgreens had just bought a fourth of Rite Aid. And through a relationship, I was able to go work for Rite Aid. I integrated the first 100 stores, which was the largest retail U.S. acquisition in the history of the U.S. economy.
Damn.
So crash course to like M&A. So integrate the first 100 stores across Colorado, Utah, Mississippi, Louisiana, as well as serve as a regional HR exec for $5 billion, 16,000 people, 600 stores in 5 different states. Had 8 team members across the country. And I think I was like 28 when I did it. And it was fantastic. I loved it. But I learned really quickly, like, I was good enough to be there from a talent standpoint. But, man, in true honesty, I didn't have the experience to perform that job at the level at which you need to perform. And I ended up exiting it, right? I had 3 bosses in the first 6 months that I worked there. And so I really wasn't set up for success. I was really just getting by based off of relationships with my peers and just mentors and just what I knew. But Walgreens is really a bad, toxic culture, to be really honest with you. And I wasn't mature enough to navigate that.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for a different opportunity through a relationship with the Tyler Insurance Company, real estate. Was able to meet a guy, and he was running a nonprofit that owned affordable housing. So ended up being his COO, which was really a great experience for me. We ended up managing a little over $180 million in real estate. My first time ever fundraising, raised over $13 million for new real estate acquisitions, sourced up another $66 million in debt. And it wasn't just about the money, it was about the mission. We were able to house 8,000 people who, instead of having to live somewhere, they got to live in safe, decent, sanitary housing. We weren't slumlords. But it was a valuable lesson. It taught me a lot of things, like really about value, right? Businesses, if you can add value,
Right.
to any business, you can get money, you can retain customers, you can keep people on board, and if you can be a good partner, you can do a lot of great things. Then from there, so I don't want to go into PE. So then I dipped my toe kind of in you guys' world, the fitness world, and helped launch a new fitness brand called Kick House. That didn't necessarily work out, but I hired everybody the first team members there, built out the whole infrastructure, created all the franchise.
Are they still going?
No, they ended up selling to Mayweather Boxing.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So that was also the first time like negotiating, different forms of like buyouts and equities and stuff. I didn't get no cash from the sale, just to be clear. But that what I'll say from that experience is I learned a lot about how to pick CEOs. Picking a CEO is really important.
Yeah, it's hard too, finding that person.
Our CEO, not them as a person, but they were trash as a CEO. And that business really hasn't grown at all, right? Since a lot of us, the rest of the leadership left. And so, for a lot of entrepreneurs, I'll say individuals who are employed with W-2s, picking your leader is extraordinarily important.
Yeah.
And then for entrepreneurs, picking your partner, if you have one, is extraordinarily important. I don't have to tell you guys that. You both know that. So that was just like a reinforcement of like, hey, man, just because this is a good opportunity on paper, if you don't have the right partnership in place, you will not be successful.
Yeah.
Right? You'll have a ceiling no matter what. But then from there, man, I just got tired. I was burnt out. This was like right after COVID. All the stuff with social injustice was happening. George Floyd just happened. I just started grad school, so I was flying out to Carolina every 3 weeks. My son was like 1.5. Just exhausted. Like I was just mentally drained. So I took like 6 months off, man. We sold our house in Fort Worth, moved back to Houston. Put that cash in the bank and just chilled out. And I really just dedicated myself to school and honestly kind of like therapy and just refining myself.
Yeah, reset.
I really couldn't rationalize why I hadn't had as much success in my career, which sounds stupid now looking back at it, as I expected to have. Being COO twice before 31 wasn't enough. Helping my brother grow his business wasn't enough. Leading $50 million businesses for Fortune 200 companies wasn't enough. And I couldn't reconcile with that. I also couldn't reconcile, like, as a young black man, how I was treated in certain instances I felt like were unfair. And I couldn't really reconcile the fact that if I treat everybody right, why couldn't I get that type of experience always? And so, man, I had to sit down.
Why do you feel like it was enough for you?
To be really honest with you, I think it goes back to identity.
Mm-hmm.
If you put your identity in things that will change, that will leave, that are terminal, it'll never be enough.
Mm-hmm.
You'll always be
Yeah.
searching for something that validates you. So that's why I wasn't, because my identity was in my title. It was in how much money I made. It was in all types of things that I could lose at any moment. And so part of me taking a break and sitting down was reconnecting with God,
Mm-hmm.
and really being like, man, God loves me. I cannot earn it. I cannot lose it. There's nothing I can do to change his mind about me. My
Mhm.
wife is still here. You know what I mean? She holding on. She loved me. And my son thinks I'm a superhero.
Yeah.
Like, if I got that, I got a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And really re-level setting my expectations for life, for myself, and what I perceived as value and worthy of investment. And so that was really good for me, man. That was really good for me to sit down and stop and pause and reconnect with the things that are true for me and the things that really matter. Then from there, I went and joined, I got a call from a search firm that was like, hey, we got this venture backed startup. They just raised a bunch of money. They're in real estate. They need a real estate person with HR experience. There's nobody out there except for you
Mm-hmm.
when you meet with this company. And I did that. It was a
Mhm.
great experience. Didn't think I was going to stay there that long. I wasn't really into working out. I had just raised a couple $1 million to flip houses. So me and my brother-in-law were flipping houses during COVID. And we were doing really, you guys remember the housing market back then. If you put anything on the market, it sold in 2
Right.
days.
Yeah.
So we were doing that. We were flipping as many houses as we could find. I wasn't really interested in going back to work for somebody, but
Mhm.
they had a really good purpose, really good driven. So I did that, helped grow that organization, doubled the team member size, built out all their payroll, all their HR infrastructure. We were in 19 different countries. So I built out their global talent structure, just like crash course in everything people, everything revenue, everything real estate. And then I got a call from a consulting company. It was like, hey, we need a director. We do a bunch of biotech. We consult for a bunch of biotech firms. We're 100% remote. Like, are you willing to do that? And I just graduated B school. I didn't really want to this is gonna sound bad. I didn't want to work so hard anymore.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a step back.
Yeah.
My daughter was born February 2022, and I really hadn't met her because between grad school, between working at my startup, I hadn't been at home that much. And so this was the opportunity for me to kind of, once again, get back to what was true. I felt myself slipping a little bit. So this is about self accountability. So joined a consulting firm, which where I'm at now. I'm a director there, and I consult for all of our executive HR clients and talent strategy. And yeah, my wife's also started my wife's business. My wife's a chiropractor,
Right.
Bound Chiropractic,
Mhm.
off 20th and Shepherd. If you're in Houston, go see her.
Yeah.
So just living life, man.
Do
having a good
you
time.
consider yourself an entrepreneur then, or just more so like a businessman
Man,
or a little bit of both?
Intrapreneur.
Entrepreneur.
I think I'm a
Sounds-
little. Honestly, I'm gonna be really
bit of-
transparent with you. I don't know if there's a label that really defines
Yeah.
it. Because I love having a W-2. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also love owning little pieces of other things that nobody ever even knows about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know about some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we haven't. I mean, we haven't sat down and talked in a while, but
Yeah. I also love seeing my wife be an entrepreneur. So
Mhm.
what I think I am is an accelerator.
yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter whether I own it or whether I'm partnering or whether I'm inside of an actual organization. I'm here to accelerate your business strategy by helping you find great people and helping you be a better person.
Mhm.
So that's how I view myself. I can be the guy, going back
Yeah.
to sports references.
Mhm.
And Derek, we used to go to practice.
Mhm.
I'm a great athlete. I would have been a way better coach.
Yeah.
I would have been a way better coach than athlete. So in my professional life, I recognize I don't necessarily need to be the CEO because I'm a hell of a co-captain, for lack of better words. And I'd rather support the guy or the gal who's really taking the shots. That's
Yeah.
really where I find a lot of comfort.
So
and joy.
consulting is where you feel like you're thriving and happiest then.
Anytime I can help leaders
Yeah.
be more strategic, then yeah, I'm be thriving. Whether that's
Yeah.
consulting, whether that's talking to you about business strategy, talking to my brother, talking to the million other people that I talk to a lot. Whenever I'm just serving, I would say serving. Whenever I'm serving, that's when I feel best.
It's great. I mean, we can kind of wrap it up with the fourth leg now. So, what are your goals beyond that? Then now now that you've kind of like stepped back and refound what you love to do, and found God, found your reconnect with your family, and
Yeah.
kind of prioritize that. What's next for JC?
Yeah, this is aspirational.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put it in a very simple way. Like, continue seeking God on a daily basis, centering myself around the infallible truth that I am loved by Him. I cannot earn it, cannot lose it. Continue to serve my wife. Your wife, you guys both have wives. Your wife is the best seed in the world. As long as you water it, it'll always sprout. That's a metaphor for multiple things, right? Making sure I'm a good dad. You know what I mean? Making sure my kids know me. And then I'm gonna start a PE firm in a little bit. I've been approached by a couple guys several times. Timing just wasn't right, but I'm gonna start buying some stuff here in a second. Aspirationally, I want to raise $20 million in the next, I would say, 36 months.
And what industry?
Doesn't matter. Small cap. Anything under 5 million, 10 million is probably what I would buy. I love service industries. Very general jobs. Like, I would buy 10 plumbers if I could right now, companies. Any organizations that have long government contracts, like, for example, like civil engineering firms.
Right.
I buy a couple of civil engineering firms. My brother-in-law is actually a fantastic civil engineer, so we talk a lot about this stuff. And then also title companies. My brother has a great business. I've been able to watch him grow. I help him do I support him in a lot of his deals. And so I think there's also an opportunity for us to continue to build a real estate arm. One thing that's interesting about my family as well, too, is we have a nonprofit that owns over $5 million of commercial real estate, free and clear, that my mom technically spearheads, but I do all of our deals. So I'm really passionate about continuing to grow the real estate portfolio for our nonprofit, because we use the real estate earnings and we give it back to the community, literally.
And this solely the Black community?
Any
or
community.
any
We
community?
don't care who you are.
Okay.
If you need help, we're going to show up.
Okay.
So, for example, we give over, last year we gave away $5.7 million in food and furniture. So we're on preferred donation lists for companies like organizations like World Vision, Costco, and we just got a warehouse a year and a half ago. So we run 2 18-wheelers a week of filling it up and sending it to different parts of the country to serve those in needs.
Damn.
So that's what I'm
That's
really,
amazing,
really
man.
excited about, really passionate about in the future.
I think just overall helping people is
man.
what I mean. You've always helped me. I mean, I feel like you've always been kind of like a mentor to me, even in college. Like you're always an old head.
I appreciate that, man. I'm really humbled to hear you say that. I never felt like you needed mentoring. I just wanted to be your friend. I thought
I know, but sometimes it's like I feel like I could, if I needed to ask somebody something, I would always go to you. Because I always feel like you're gonna give me the best or realest advice. But I couldn't ask Andre for advice. I couldn't.
I hope he's listening. Andre Thomas will lead you astray. But no, one of the last things my dad told me, this is like really soppy, but one of the last things my dad told me when he was dying, he was like, son, one of the greatest investments you can ever make is to invest in people. For a man with friends is never broke, he's always rich. And I never forgot that. So I try to make sure that I am a friend, so I can always find a friend if I need one.
That's how I've always lived my life too. It's like, no matter what people think, I mean, life is 100% transactional. Not always by money, but a lot of times by value and relationship building, right? Like, I feel like I've really operated like that too. It's like I always try to, if someone calls me, I'm always going to answer, so that if I ever call them, they will always answer. So I always like FaceTime people. As like being like the people's people is like always so important. Just like planting the seeds with everybody, and then you never know which seed is really going to grow into something like really grand,
100%.
I mean, there's a lot of relationships that we've built that just from being, just making the connection that have kind of come full circle for us now. And it's being
kind to everybody too.
Been pretty
it goes
great.
a long way.
And then lastly, nobody's coming to save us. So we don't help each other. Regardless of our differences. Right. Like, who cares about our differences, our different ideologies, our different faiths, our different whatever category you want to add. Like, our kids are still going to school together. We still live next to each other. We're still fighting the same. All of us want to be able to wake up, be safe, put some money in the bank, walk our kids to school, them not be in danger, love our wives or our significant others or partners, and live a good life and be able to see the fruits of our own work in a very consistent way. Like we all want that.
Yeah, I think so, man. And I wish more people would realize that.
That's why we're here, man. That's why
Yeah.
we got the Read Distribution podcast, man. We're out here changing the world, dog. One podcast at a time.
I hope so. What is UT motto? Change the world.
Screw that.
What starts
motto.
here, change the world.
Our motto. They stole that.
Yeah, like this is also another reason why we do this stuff too. We're saying that back to like where when we talk about college, everyone kind of does things to monetize. One of the reasons why we did this podcast is to not really monetize. It's just because like we actually enjoy it and having conversations, and also it helps build relationships too, right? Because the conversations that you normally have in a podcast will go far deeper than like if you and I were sitting together in a coffee shop. You know, I'm not going to ask you these questions all the time. So this podcast and like what we're doing here is something we hope can be truly different, because it's like Derek and I, we really see the value in just like planting seeds and like helping one another. Like you say, we all have a common goal in life: get home safe, raise a great family, have a good life, have money in the bank, like all these things. So why not do it together? You know, that's what a lot of people don't realize, you know?
You guys are unique too. You guys have a great story. You know, when you guys share tidbits about your story, like it's really good. But like, you know, y'all's full story.
What story are you talking about?
Yeah, which one?
Whichever one you want to tell, like how you guys met, your ups and downs and partnership and relations, your career aspirations, navigating through life with family, as well as like the family business aspect.
Yeah.
Right. There's so much like cool stuff about you guys, and like there's not a lot of like white and Asian dudes on like, you know, podcasts. They're genuine people.
Yeah.
But also are sitting in their own building.
Yeah.
You know, owning their own crap.
Yeah.
Talking about entrepreneurship, life, friends.
It's fun. It's fun for sure.
Definitely very blessed to be in this situation.
Y'all are blessed, but you also did the work.
Yeah.
You know, faith
for
without
sure.
works is dead.
I'm not done yet. We still got a lot of work to
We're
do.
far from done.
Just getting started.
We still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Excited about watching the journey, fellas.
Yeah.
You been watching it?
No.
Now he will. Starting with this podcast.
He's gonna watch this podcast. Well, hey man, I think that's a good way to cross the finish line on a great note, right? Really appreciating you taking the time. From everything you've told us, sounds like you're busy as shit. So taking the hour to come talk to us really means a lot to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, man, we go back. You know, I know you're always, like you said, the relationship aspect. I feel like you're somebody who I can always count on, and I hope you think the same about me.
Likewise, man.
Hopefully, you think the same about Daniel, maybe.
Likewise.
You know?
Absolutely, man.
For sure.
And like I heard Daniel about not wanting to monetize the podcast, but go ahead and monetize this next time. Y'all can pay your boy when I show up.
Pay you for your time. Have a
Hopefully
green.
in the future.
We'll have a green room for you next time. You know, we'll have the flowers and everything that you wanted.
Ionized water and Skittles.
For sure.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. Thank you to the listeners at home for tuning in. Together, we will sprint towards a purpose-driven future, celebrating the power of business, entrepreneurship, and the transformative impact that it can create.